Three candidates are on the Republican ballot for Illinois House of Representatives District 94. The incumbent Norine Hammond, Bailey Templeton, and Joshua Higgins. Mr. Higgins regrets he is unable to attend, but I believe we do have Norine and Bailey in the audience tonight. Come on down. We'll begin with introductions. You'll each have 1 minute to introduce yourselves. And Ms. Templeton, why don't you get us started?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Bailey Templeton, and I'm running for the Illinois House of Representatives here in the 94th District. I think we can all be certain at this point that there are drastic things happening in all levels of government, and the people are really not being heard anymore when they're asking for help. Now, some people do get heard, but it kind of depends on what's in your pocketbook at these positions. And as a homeschooling mom, I've been teaching my 13-year-old son about government recently. And I've learned that there's a huge difference between government and politics. And unfortunately, politics has now destroyed what our government could and should be, which is for the people, by the people. And as the Illinois organizer for You Are the Power, it is my job to enforce constitutional rights within the state, and if someone has issues with any constitutional problems, I can step in and teach whoever is disregarding those issues or those rights. I can teach them what they're doing wrong and teach them that we actually have a constitutional republic where we do get to use that one article of legislation that trumps anything else that's been written. So I'm here as a fresh voice and someone to listen to the people and vote for the people and what they would like to have voted for.
Ms. Hammond.
Thank you, and first of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters and also to the Milo students for your assistance tonight. I started the morning with you all this morning, so I think it's only appropriate. Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm State Representative Norine Hammond. I represent the 94th District in the Illinois House. I have been happily married to my husband Leonard for 47 years, and we have one daughter, Trish, that lives in Chicago. And I serve on a number of committees. I am spokesperson for the Human Services Committee. I am also the spokesperson for the Rules Committee. I serve on Executive Committee. I serve on Cybersecurity, Consumer Protection, and the Gun Violence Committee. So thank you very much.
And a reminder, raise your hand if you have a question for these candidates, and someone will come around with paper and pencil for you to write down your question, and we'll try and fit in as many as we can. Ms. Hammond, let's start with you. What can the state do to attract more businesses and jobs to this part of Illinois?
I think some of the most important things that we can do, we have some of the highest corporate taxes in across the U.S., and certainly that is one area that we could certainly lower our corporate taxes. And in addition, the licensing to get a license for a business in the state of Illinois is nothing short of a nightmare. Typically, what takes 2 years in the state of Illinois to get your paperwork done takes 2 weeks in other states. So I think that there are many things that we can do as far as taxes and regulations to attract better business.
Ms. Templeton, what can the state do to attract more businesses and jobs to this part of Illinois?
I think that we have such an agriculturally rich area that we should be really pouring more into our farmers, into our agricultural business that we have here, as well as supporting the small businesses that are already open and having a clearer voice of what they need as well. A lot of our funding has been trapped in other parts of the state, and we really need to bring a lot more of that funding down here, specifically agriculture. I have been sending in Freedom of Information Acts all across the state to find out what type of money our school systems are receiving and what type of defaults they have and where they're lacking in finances. And we've got schools in our district receiving $1,300 an entire year on agricultural grants for their schooling. if we don't continue to keep pouring into the agricultural realm that we have here, we are going to lose it. At the same time, we have about 12,000 acres of Illinois being owned by foreign countries. And this is our farmland. If we keep giving up our farmland, if we keep giving up the land that our people have, we won't be able to bring back small businesses if our farmland's bought up by other countries.
Ms. Hammond, any response or rebuttal to that?
I have filed for the second year in a row a bill that would raise the farm tax exemption to mirror the federal level. Currently in the state of Illinois, that farm tax exemption is at $4 million. At the federal level, it is at $12 billion. So in an effort to make parity across the board for that, I have issued that bill, or filed that bill now twice. And also, we do put $5 million into our ag education line in the state of Illinois. It has not been raised in a number of years, and I think that that is always an area that we can do better, because agriculture is the #1 industry in the state of Illinois.
Ms. Templeton, Democrats hold strong majorities in the legislature. What could you, as a Republican lawmaker, do to make sure legislation that benefits your district is heard and eventually passed?
I think that's a wonderful question. I actually work on a bipartisan level with most of my issues that I've been covering, including missing foster children. There's 193 missing foster children in the state of Illinois. This information was uncovered with my FOIA work, the Freedom of Information Act, which is afforded to us all under the Constitution, but nobody's teaching children or adults how to use this anymore. When we are able to get transparency and clarity about what's actually happening with our taxpayer funds, we have a better way of rearranging what's actually going on. We pay in more than enough money. We just need to make sure it's going to the right places, and it's a very bipartisan stance to think we need to lower our taxes. And I think the issues that I'm highlighting in my campaign are something that can be heard across the board, and it's just a human rights issue. There's just a lot going on that's not being shown to the people, and my biggest goal here is transparency, and I've been working that way for over a year and a half now, and putting all of my information publicly online, just things that state agencies don't want you to know, but you're allowed to know. And that's where our waste, fraud, and abuse is really being held, is in our state agencies, and that needs to be addressed through all levels of legislature, as well as the judicial branch and the executive. We have a system of checks and balances, and it needs to be operating the way that I'm teaching my children it should be.
Ms. Hammond, what can you do as a Republican lawmaker to make sure legislation that benefits your district is heard and eventually passed?
So first and foremost, I can do math. There are 78 Democrats in the Illinois House and 40 Republicans. It takes 60 votes to pass anything in the Illinois House. So you have to have folks that you can reach across the aisle, you can have conversations with, it may take education, but that can happen. And I have a history of working with folks across the aisle to get legislation passed that is important to my district and the 94th district, and is important to the constituents that I represent. A perfect example of that is a bill that we had for proton beam therapy, and I was able to pass that almost unanimously by working with folks across the aisle.
Ms. Templeton, any rebuttal or response to that?
No.
Next question is for you to start off. How should we regulate data centers in Illinois?
That's a great question. I think that there needs to be transparency and clarity about what is coming into the data centers, what resources we're using with the data centers, and what's actually being put out. Also, it needs to be American-owned data centers. I don't think that we need other countries owning data centers in our state specifically. They're collecting a lot of data with these programs that they have. And once again, we have constitutional rights, and those include privacy. So I think the data centers, we need to have a clear indication of what's going on. You can't really trust the media on what's being said. You need to have an inside look on almost every aspect to figure out how you can fix it, in my opinion. If there is no transparency, we can't tackle any issue that we have.
Ms. Hammond, how should we regulate data centers in Illinois?
So Data centers are here to stay. Um, how many will be in the state of Illinois still remains to be seen. There are a lot of challenges with the data centers, not just within the security and the cybersecurity measures that are entailed in these data centers, but also the amount of energy that these data centers require and the amount of water oftentimes that these data centers require is not insignificant. Illinois is already challenged with our electricity and our rates and our capacity. And so if we continue to bring in more and more data centers, we will find challenges with that, and we will also find challenges with our water.
Any response or rebuttal?
No, sir.
Ms. Hammond, we'll start with you with this next question. Where do you stand on the development of wind, solar, and geothermal energy in our region?
So I think that wind, solar, and geothermal are certainly, you drive anywhere across the state and certainly the 94th district, and you will see wind farms, you will see solar farms, but at the end of the day, they are not going to be the answer to our energy needs here in the state of Illinois. The wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine. Illinois has put in some energy policy over the recent years, and we did not have an integrated energy policy. We took coal plants offline, and we didn't have anything to replace that energy. And so I think it's most important that we have an integrated energy policy, and also that we respect a person's private property and not allow for eminent domain.
Ms. Templeton, where do you stand on the development of wind, solar, and geothermal energy in our region?
I think that we need to unleash American energy in a way that we have not seen in years. We have plenty of natural gas and coal products that we could still be retaining from the state of Illinois and bring it all back to Illinois. What we are doing is buying it from other states, and that is once again sending our money out of our state lines. When our country and our state specifically desperately needs our taxpayer money to go where the people need it to go, not to big corporations and big businesses who are making all the decisions for us. So I think if we unleash American energy with American-made people put back into this district specifically, we're watching our farmland get bought up, like I mentioned earlier, through the FOIA, and a lot of this farmland is no longer being used for agricultural land. It's being used for solar farms or wind farms. Eminent domain is a very important thing to me because it's super unconstitutional for them to put up different things like this on your property, especially with the medical testing that comes with it. A lot of these solar farms and wind farms, they're actually causing a lot of adverse things to happen to the people who live in a close proximity. And I think it's important that we unleash the energy that we're all familiar with and that has been good for us while we look into other sources of renewable energy as well.
Ms. Hammond, any rebuttal or response?
No.
Okay. Ms. Templeton, do you think the state is funding K through 12 education adequately? And please elaborate on why you feel the way you do.
I do not think that we are getting the correct funding for K through 8, and this is based off of FOIA work that I've done as well. I've spoken to many of the superintendents around the district, the 94th district specifically, asking them where they thought we had downfalls and shorts in the budget. And I've also received all of their balances, all of their budget data, all of their credit card expenditures, and I've been able to go through and see where there are actually issues. We've got a school in this district specifically that is mostly ran off the taxpayer dollars. I don't know why this happened, I don't know when this happened, but it's something that I'm wanting to look deeper into to see why our property taxes are the only thing keeping this school open at this point. And they're talking about needing to get some extra extensions on their taxes and not even being able to pay their taxes properly because they don't have the funding they need. The funding they receive from the school board, or from the Board of Education, is going directly to salary, and there's not much left over to actually go towards enhancing the children, and the test scores show it.
Ms. Hammond, do you think the state is funding K through 12 education adequately? And please elaborate on why you feel the way you do.
I think that we can always put more money into not just K through 12 education, but education in general across the state of Illinois. Back in 2017, Illinois implemented the evidence-based funding formula for K through 12 education. That puts $350 million a year in additional funding for education based on a four-tier system. $350 million back in 2017 sounded like a lot of money. As we go fast forward and mandate after mandate after mandate on our schools, it is evident that $350 million is not adequate, and certainly they can always use more money. And I think that we have to look at our spending priorities, and where are those spending priorities? Are they for education, or are they for something else?
Ms. Templeton, any response?
I do, actually. I think that a lot of the funding needs to be directed at the K through 12 specifically, because if they don't get the funding they need and the teaching that they need on that K through 12, there won't be any college career for those children. And the statistics tell the truth that a lot of kids aren't going to college, and it's whether we didn't give them a good enough start in the school system or they just didn't feel supported financially as they went off to college. There's something going on where less and less kids are going to college, and that needs to be addressed in the K through 12 system specifically.
We'll now give you each 30 seconds for concluding comments. Ms. Hammond?
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate it. And I will just say that we are facing a lot of challenges in the state of Illinois right now, and experience speaks volumes. And to be able to tackle the challenges that we have, you have to have the history and the knowledge of how we got here. So I appreciate the fact that you are all here tonight, and if you live in the 94th district, I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Ms. Templeton?
Thank you all, and while I might not have 15 years of experience, I was taken to court over my petitions and they tried to throw me off the ballot. I represented myself and won that court case against one of the top Chicago lawyers. I'm a very fast learner. Nobody taught me how to do that. We did that ourselves by doing the research. I think that experience doesn't equal credentials. I think care, loyalty, and the fight that I've been putting in for the people needs to be seen. If you just Google my name, you can see all the work that I've done uncovering fraud, 725% increase in Medicaid spending, $66 million spent on children without registered Social Security numbers through Medicaid, and again, the 193 missing children in Illinois DCFS. Our elected officials have had time to fix these issues, and they're not paying attention to them. So you need someone who's been through it, lost their child, and has a federal lawsuit to prove it, and someone who's ready to sit here and fight for you guys the way that I fought for my family.
Thank you to both of you for showing up and participating tonight.
Thank you very much.